welcome back to Nate's Garage. First thing today, we're gonna finish off the drip rails and do a little bit of welding, body work, and show you what it's gonna take to get all that together. And then my two-part for tomorrow is gonna be the trials and tribulations and the issues I've been going through with the car and different things that I've figured out, and I just want to show you that too. So we'll be making another video tomorrow, so stay tuned. But first of all, let's get started with the welding and we'll go from there. So the first thing we're going to look at today is the drip rails that I shaved, and what I did was I cut the original drip rails in half and then welded them back onto the car because of the lip underneath. It shortens where the top rolls around to the bottom. So what we got to do is when I did all the welds and then ground those welds down, it weakened the metal. So those little cracks, I got to weld those shut and then grind those off, and then hopefully after that we can start doing the body work. So let's get started. So what I've done here is I've marked out the spots that all need to be welded. And you don't want to heat it up too much because that metal's pretty thin. So I'll show you what's going on. So we got all the welding done all the way across. Now we're gonna grind this down, then we'll put some filler over it, and we'll show you the steps after that. We got all the grinding done. Now we got to prep the area for filler, and then after that put some primer on. As you can see, I scuffed the area for the filler, and I'll put some of that on there and we'll come back. And we'll be right back. So this is what it looks like when it's all prepped out from 24 grit, 80 grit to 24 grit, whatever you're putting on there, fiberglass or Bondo. It gives you a good adhesion. So one of the first things I do is I use Windex to clean all the dirt and the residue. So what I like to do is use Windex on all the crevices in the whole area, taking off as much dirt and residue as I can, and I do the whole panel. I'll, go maybe a foot up into the roof and by the windshield where the old drip rail used to be. That whole panel needs to be cleaned really well. Sometimes I'll go over it 3 or 4 times because that prep really makes a big difference. Any kind of dust or dirt will make that, whatever you're putting on there, whether it's fiberglass or Bondo, it'll make it not stick very well. So just remember, prep is everything. And then for our next step, we have Prep All Wax and Grease Remover. It's a little bit different than Windex. Windex usually takes care of dirt and grime and stuff, but a wax and grease remover helps with tar and any oily base, any fingerprints, anything waxy. Make sure you get all of your grooves, and like I said, I usually clean it about the same way, and switching rags. And also when you're using wax and grease remover or any kind of solvent or even Windex, after you get done cleaning it, wait a little while for the chemicals air out a little bit, dissipate. You don't want to put filler or anything over something when Prep All or something like that's trying to breathe and trying to dry. Then I blow it off real good. Then I go over it again because from the compressor the air has oil in it, so I usually just go over it one more time real quick. Nobody thinks about that. When you blow shit off, you don't want to get fisheye. Forget it. Once you get fisheye, you're done. So that's where it all begins. So the next picture here is just checking everything over, making sure that you don't put too much filler or fiberglass in that channel right there. You just want it even. You don't want it too thick. This is what I was using, all metal before, and I thought it's good for a flexible filler, but I used it a couple times and it did not adhere to the metal very well, so I'm not using that. No, not so much. So the next thing we're going to do is fill that gap, and this is polyester resin. We're going to mix that with our short strand Bondo glass. It's actually fiberglass. We're going to mix it all together and put it on the car. And here we are. Make sure you put plenty of pressure on that channel right there. A lot of pressure. And then go over it with more
more glass later. What I usually do is mash it in there, then I'll go sideways with it, and that'll just give me enough to fill that gap. You should only have to do it 1 or 2 times. Fiberglass is real hard to work with, so you don't want to put too much on there. I'd rather put more filler on there than more glass, because you don't want to be sanding glass off. Plus, you don't want that stuff on your skin when you're sanding it, for sure. So don't use it too much of it. Like I said, you know, I hardly had to sand any of that before I put the Bondo on there, so. And then you'll see me going straight across with it here in a little bit. Here's a practice. Doesn't take much. If you have a gap or something, just kind of fill it in there and work with it later. Like I said, a little bit less is better with fiberglass, because like I said, you can always fill it with something else. That's just to fill the gap, that's all that is. Bondo doesn't flex very well, so that's why I put glass down there. She wasn't kicking too much, but she was just trying about right there. So I had just enough hardener in there. I like using the red hardener on my Bondo and my glass. I know they sell the blue, you can hardly find the red anymore, but there's one place in West Palm that still has it off of Georgia Avenue. So that's it. So the next thing we're going to be doing is sanding where the glass was. See, there's not very much in there, just enough to fill that little gap. For the flexibility, it helps, you know, with the flexibility instead of putting a Bondo in there. So the next step is sanding the fiberglass with 80 grit, 24 grit. I usually use 80 grit. Like I said, there's not much to sand because I didn't put too much on there. I didn't really, I mean, I'm using my hand, so obviously it was just enough to fill that gap for filler. The next thing I'm using is Windex again, cleaning that surface before I put filler on there. And like I said, you don't want to put too much on, and also you want to let it dry for quite a little bit. Let those chemicals air out before you put anything over it, because it may bubble or do some strange stuff. Just clean it really good. Everything's about prep. If you don't have good prep for anything or any step, it's probably gonna fail on you. So just remember that. So the next step, we're gonna take the clean sheets mixing board paper off, which is really nice to have instead of having to clean it every time like back in the day, those plastic boards or your cardboard. So today we're going to be using some icing. Let's make sure that board's nice and clean. Polyester putty for small imperfections and little pinholes and stuff like that there is. So we're going to use this for over the fiberglass because there's little pinholes and stuff in there. So we're going to cover that with this because it's thinner and you can get into those holes a little better than regular filler. Make sure you knead your hardener real good before you do it. Some of them tubes are just all liquid, just sitting for a while, so just grab a different one. Don't need much, maybe a line or less. especially when you're in Florida, when you're mixing this stuff up, maybe half of what you normally would up in Michigan or a northern state, because the humidity is so bad down here. It takes about half the hardener. Just mix it up real good. You don't want to go in circles, you just want to go flat, just like you see. Make sure it's mixed up real good. And then we're just gonna fill the pinholes. Not gonna fill nothing special. And then we're gonna use this Evercoat next. This Rage Optex. It's supposed to change colors and stuff with a certain hardener, but we're not using that. We're just using the regular red hardener because it does the same thing. They usually say, "Oh, use our hardener and this and that," and why? It looks like it's already mixed, don't it? That pink color. So yeah, just go sideways with it. Make sure you mix it in there real good. Like I said, you don't want to do circles because that'll cause air bubbles. And then, as soon as you get it mixed up, you need to get on it. Start filling those gaps. She looks pretty good right there. Say we get it. So what we're doing here is we're just going to fill the gaps real quick. And then we'll go sideways just like we did with the fiberglass. Go real quick because that stuff kicks quick. Kicking means it gets hard fast. So you don't have much time to work with it. So you just got to kind of throw it on there and then make sure you get a lot of pressure into that gap, and then you just go sideways with it. And then 2 or 3 coats after that, then you start shaping things. Make sure you don't have a lot of pinholes, and just start shaping stuff. And that's part of shaving the drip rails. Not a lot of people do it, but I think it looks cool. That's the way we do it. So you don't need much. Need much at all for that little gap. I'll probably put about 3 or 4 coats more on after that. Nice and smooth. You want to try to not have to sand a whole lot. So you want it on there pretty even. She's probably getting hard about now, so I'll probably try to hurry up. Just finishing up that bigger gap up there. It's an art, that's for sure. It's an art form. In body work and painting. Love that Nate's Garage shirt there. You can get those from Northerly Design and Printing in Traverse City, Michigan. Talk to Scott or Anna, they'll help you out. You can get hats, koozies, pretty much anything you want. They do weddings and stuff. They do a lot of cool stuff. That's probably about it right there. So now we got our Evercoat Rage Optex filler. That's about 2 or 3 coats right there. Welcome back.
So all day we've been working on these shaped drip rails, and we started out with welding them, welding the cracks, the seams, the stuff that I missed, and then after that we ground the welds down, and then we did some fiberglass work, filled them gaps, and then we put about 6 coats of filler on. So I did some reshaping and about ready for some primer here, so let me show you my progress. Nice and smooth. Nice and smooth. Finally got the quarters all nice and smooth. Still have to do the edges a little bit. It's not perfect, but you know, once we get some primer on there, we'll see. We do some blocking. That's really nice. It's gonna look really nice. Nice and sleek. No drip rail. So that's the progress I got going today. We're going to do one tomorrow on what I've been doing before this. So we'll get another video tomorrow. I hope to see you guys, and stay safe. Peace. Later.
I've been praying this whole time. Guess it's time to let go. I see clear when I open my eyes. Know that your body's so cold. Drinking way too much now. All I hear is to let go. Don't know how. Hazy nights they fly by, and no one's here to talk me down. I need a good night, a goodbye, baby. Facing